What about those mysterious throat cuts we sometimes see on mummies? Well, some archaeologists believe that this practice was linked to religious or protective rituals. In ancient Egypt, it was believed that the body could be reanimated by evil forces or vengeful spirits. A cut to the throat could prevent the deceased from coming back to haunt the living. The Egyptians believed some threats to cosmic order even after dead. The Egyptians believed in the power of enemies, both living and dead. Curses were real. Magic was real. And some people were so dangerous, so evil, or such threats to cosmic order that they had to be neutralized even after death. The Egyptians believed you needed more than just your physical body. You needed multiple spiritual components. The Ka, your life force or double. The Ba, your personality or soul, often depicted as a human-headed bird. The Akh, your transformed, effective spirit in the afterlife. The Ib, your heart, which would be weighed against the feather of Ma to judge your worthiness. The Ren, your name, which had to be preserved or you'd cease to exist. And the Shut, your shadow. All these components had to work together. Damage one and you risked eternal destruction. Mummification preserved the body, so these spiritual components had a home. The elaborate tomb decorations, spells from the Book of the Dead, and grave goods were all tools to help the deceased navigate the afterlife successfully. This is where throat removal comes in. But it's not what you might think. In ancient Egypt, words had literal magical power. This wasn't metaphorical. They believed that speaking something could make it real. The creation myth itself centered on this. The god Ptah created the universe through speech. He thought in his heart and spoke with his tongue, and existence came into being. The god Thoth, inventor of writing and magic, used words to create and control reality. For humans, this power extended into death. The deceased needed to be able to speak in the afterlife. They had to recite spells to ward off demons and navigate dangerous passages, answer questions from the gods during judgment, declare their innocence when their heart was weighed, speak their name to confirm their identity and maintain their existence, command magical servants and protective amulets through verbal formulas. The opening of the mouth, wepet-ur, was the most important part of the burial ritual. It transformed the deceased into an Akh, the reanimated and effective spirit that was one of the elements of the ancient Egyptian concept of the soul. The first references to this ritual are from the Old Kingdom, and it remained part of their burial practices throughout Egyptian history. When performed on a mummy, it allowed the spirit of the deceased to see, speak, hear, breathe, and to receive offerings of food and drink. When conducted on a statue, or from the New Kingdom, a coffin, it allowed the statue to act as a surrogate for the body. Thus, the statue could act as a useful backup should the body of the deceased be damaged or destroyed. Many tombs included a statue of the deceased placed in a closed chamber known as a serdab. During the 4th dynasty of the Old Kingdom, only a bust of the tomb owner's head was included. So, speech in the afterlife wasn't just communication, it was survival. Your voice was a weapon, a tool, and a form of power. Now flip this around. What if someone's voice was too dangerous to allow into the afterlife? So what about those mysterious throat cuts we sometimes see on mummies? Well, some archaeologists believe that this practice was linked to religious or protective rituals. In ancient Egypt, it was believed that the body could be reanimated by evil forces or vengeful spirits. A cut to the throat could prevent the deceased from coming back to haunt the living. There's also evidence that some of these throat cuts were part of a larger ritualistic or sacrificial practice. Some mummies with throat cuts come from periods of turmoil in Egypt, like during political upheaval or after a ruler's fall from power. In these cases, individuals who were executed might have had their throats slit as part of an execution or ritualistic sacrifice. Another theory is that the throat cut was a way of ensuring that the soul of the deceased would not return to harm the living. Ancient Egyptians believed that the soul could linger, and making a cut in the throat might have been a symbolic way of ensuring that the ka could move on peacefully. The ancient Egyptian mummies with removed throats force us to confront an uncomfortable truth. Death has never been the end of human cruelty or human fear. The statue and mummy would again be purified and sometimes wrapped in a linen shroud, and a summary of the rituals recited. Finally, the mourners would enjoy a funeral meal, most likely involving the calf which had been sacrificed. The deceased, now reborn as an AKH, could take part in this feast. These were not the monsters being neutralized. These were people, traitors, criminals, or maybe just enemies of whoever held power, who were punished in the most thorough way imaginable. Not just execution, not just denied burial, but rendered eternally voiceless. This tells us the Egyptians saw death as a transition requiring active participation, not a passive end. Just as a newborn needs help to enter the world, the deceased needed ritual assistance to enter the next life. It's actually quite profound. They refused to accept that death meant total loss. Through mummification and ritual, they fought against oblivion itself.